Hi, everybody. Welcome to this special edition of the Spiritual Handyman. This is all about getting spiritual tools into the hands of the people that need them. I have with me today Tom Herold, who we affectionately refer to as Tom the Skeptic. He has a unique take on navigating the spiritual community when you don't believe in the stuff. So we're going to get into that here pretty quick. Remind everybody that we are available on YouTube, Instagram. We are also on Facebook, and you can catch the show at thespiritualhandyman.com. And please recognize that podcasts are now available as well. You can check out the podcast at The Spiritual Handyman on Podbean, Podbean. So feel free to check that out. So to give you just a little bit of intro about my friend Tom here is he is married to Vialet, who is the owner and magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. That is the space that we are actually sitting in where we're filming today. It's where all the shows are actually filmed. And it is a retail new age store as well as a practitioner and classroom space that is all about people finding their gifts and evolving through whatever part of the spiritual journey that they're on. Now, Tom is in a unique position. I'll let him share what his background is, but the reason that we obviously call him Tom the Skeptic is because he doesn't really subscribe to the same belief system that we do. And part of what our community is built on here is that it's all inclusive. And that means everybody. Believe it that when we have a fair, there is a booth for Tom the Skeptic.
And I got more customers than anybody else.
Yes, and he gave their money back, which I didn't quite understand, but that's your thing. So so there you go. So tell us a little bit about your background, Tom.
Well, I'm a degreed aerospace engineer. So by definition, I am a scientist because of that degree. And I try and approach the world looking through the lens of a scientist.
Right. So that means as far as the spiritual stuff goes, what's your level of belief in all of this?
Pretty much zero.
You might have picked up that Tom is very direct. That's part of the charm, absolutely, here. So one of the reasons that I felt like you were such a great guest for the show is because you have a unique perspective for people out there that maybe have spiritual folks in their life and maybe have a little bit of a struggle, kind of accepting that or just going with it or, just really navigating that kind of world when you, first of all, don't believe in it, right? Don't understand it, don't really care for whatever reason. So tell us what that's like for you.
Well, it's an interesting problem. I lost my first wife about 4 years ago. The reason that's relevant is I have only known Vialet for about 3 years. And when I got to meet her, one of her concerns was, how are we going to build and interact since she is so spiritual and I am not spiritual at all? I told her, I don't see a problem here. You have your way of viewing life, I have my way. Well, why can we not live together? In fact, I kind of think that there's a bonus to having two people looking at things so differently, because that allows us to possibly come up with two different solutions to the same problem. One might be significantly better because it's viewed from a different viewpoint. And I think that's worked out extremely well for us here. We have the blend of her looking through the spiritual lens and the way she decorates the space. And I look from the logical, scientific method, which allows us to solve a different group of problems. So I think we have, as some say, more tools in our toolbox because we both have such different tools.
Right, and I agree. I see it all the time and how it works out. I am with you with the analytical mind as well. I kind of have a half and half mix. Before I got onto the spiritual path, I was very matter of fact about pretty much everything. Right, and a lot like you, I needed to see it, feel it, taste it, touch it. It needed to be in front of me for me to be able to work with it. And that grew over time. It shifts, it changes, it evolved for me. For you, it is the way it is, and I respect that. And it's immensely interesting to me how you are always able to maintain the sort of the same you're just always calm, which I think is your nature. But even in the face of galactic this and spiritual that and entities and channeling and all this other mumbo jumbo, how do you approach that mentally without judging it?
Oh, I do judge it. But as a psychologist I was talking to said, we judge everything. That's how you get through life. You have to judge everything. I am walking across the street. I have the crosswalk says I can go. I am judging that the cars are stopping at the light and won't kill me. That is a judgment. And that applies to everything. This chair will support my weight. I think it's safe to sit in. These stairs will support my weight. I think I can go up or down them. We judge everything. And if we don't, we'd probably get killed walking out in front of a car that's cruising and kill us or get hit by a bus. So you have to say, that car's not going to stop. I think I'll wait. I've made a judgment call. Oop, car went through. My judgment was correct.
Well, that's a tough way to go.
It's pretty quick, though.
This is true. This is true. Again, a good point. A good point. So I guess the better question there is what state of mind do you have when you don't agree, or scientifically that it just doesn't fit the framework for you?
Right.
Like, how do you approach that?
Some people ask me, do you believe in what is being done here? And my short answer is no, I think it's all crap. The correct answer is I don't believe that it works the way they say it works. I think it works for a different reason. But as I told Vialet, which really set her mind at ease, you think it works one way, I think it works a different way, but at the end of the day, we both believe it works. She said, oh, that's good enough for me. It was about a year ago, we saw the TV show CBS Sunday Morning. And they were talking about the placebo effect. They pointed out that 60% of the time, placebo works for a person if they have, for example, anxiety, not a broken leg or something, but some other issue. 30% if they even know it's a placebo, which is amazing. So here, you could claim that they are telling you you'll feel better, asking you to hold a rock and rub it, which will make you feel better. Then sit back and relax and meditate for a minute to make yourself feel better. And then they might discuss some of the issues you have, ask you about problems you have, and give you some counseling. And before you know it, you feel better. Wow. If it works, it works. You're not taking a drug, not screwing yourself up. You're just changing your attitude. That sounds pretty darn good to me.
And you've witnessed how people will come in here in one state and leave in a different one, usually an improvement.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, whatever that is, then okay, because it makes you feel better.
And that was the goal. We have some counselors downstairs in this building, and they will come up once in a while to talk to us, and Vialet will share her methods, and then I will pop off and shoot off my mouth and say, I think it's all crap, but I believe we are helping them through the placebo effect or just straight counseling. And counselors say, that is so true, that is exactly right. You're not taking drugs, and by the way, can I buy some of your crystals? I want to give them to my patients. Because they believe that there is a value by giving them a tangible thing. Mm-hmm. Here it is. It's a blue stone. It is blue quartz or whatever, I don't know, turquoise. And if you rub this when you feel anxiety, the anxiety will go away. I was a real believer when Vialet told me about a young girl that was experiencing anxiety because her parents were going through a divorce, and she was really struggling because there's conflict in the house. And Vialet said, here's a little roller ball with these 3 oils in it. These 3 oils help with anxiety, will help you remain calm. When you feel like the anxiety is coming on, I want you to rub a little bit over your heart and rub it in. Sit there and think about it. The smell goes up, so you get a real sensation of something happening. I can smell the oil. Clearly, I'm rubbing oil over there. The act that you're doing that calms you down. The belief that something is happening calms you down. And this young girl has dramatically turned around. Honor roll 2 years in a row, just because of this treatment Vialet gave her. That's pretty darn impressive.
Right.
It's hard to argue with success.
It's true. It's true. And even though it's easy to look at that approach from a practical point of view, I would say that there's definitely a shifting in energy. Like her energy is changing. The smell of the oils activates things in people's brains, just like smells with cooking, or like we just went outside and smelled like oil outside.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, that's kind of nasty, right? It gives us some sort of mental thing to latch onto, and that being a positive experience for her, it rolled over, and that energy expanded into other areas of her life. And I think essentially we're saying the same thing.
We are.
We really are. It's just we're using different wording. We're looking at a different way, and it reaffirms for me a thing that I recognize throughout this journey, and I have a lot of my life, but especially since I've been here at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, is that we're all doing the same thing.
Yes.
We're all doing the same thing. We're just doing it our own way.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right. That's right. I met a PhD in chemistry. My brother introduced me to him, and we were talking about what we do here. And as I'm explaining it, he gets kind of quiet. And then I said, I don't believe in any of it, but I believe the talking helps. And he says, oh, so it's like going to the bar with your buddy, drinking a beer, and just talking about life. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that works.
It does.
And for some guys, that's that's the thing. That's what it is.
Therapy they can have. The alcohol relaxes them a little bit. They get the feelings out. They talk about it, and they leave feeling better.
So you shared with us a lot about how your beliefs are different and what that represents. There's one philosophy that you have that I really enjoy, and that's about the when people have differences, what that means at the basic level.
Oh, yeah, and we've seen that throughout history. One religion can't marry into another religion. One race can't marry into another race. One person from one country can't marry into another country. A geographic difference? Really? What does that have to do with anything? But if you look closely, you can see that everybody has a different output from out view of life than everybody else. My mom and dad would never talk about who they voted for because they did not want to have the conflict in the marriage. One might vote Democrat, one might vote Republican. Really? Does that make a lick of difference? There's differences between everybody's outlook on life. Where do you draw the line? How big a difference is too big? Does it really make a lick of difference? We're all trying to get by, trying to do the best we can, trying to have a good life. And I don't think the different views on life, as long as you're not trying to harm somebody, make a lick of difference.
So even in a spiritual setting, you don't spend any energy really doing it, but you really spend your time learning about the people and listening to the people and what they have to say and what their experience is. That's what I see from you with your interactions with folks all the time.
Oh yeah.
Is you're always listening to their point of view and listening to what the difference is, and you're genuinely interested.
Yeah. Another interesting case, we went to a fair, and a female friend of ours was going to get a tarot card reading. And I'm kind of new at this, so I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be rich. So I stood back. She sat down. She was clearly having some issues. She was a little under a little mental pressure, emotional pressure. And they laid out the tarot cards. I thought, okay, what crap are they going to say now? And the woman that did the tarot card said, oh, this tarot card is about relationships. What's going on in your relationships? And the girl just spilled her guts, told her everything. Oh, okay. And then she went, this one's about finance. What's going on in your life in finance? Spilled her guts again. And at the end, she felt better. What happened there? I believe that the woman threw over a tarot card, who cares which one it was, and that gave her an excuse to talk about that subject matter. If I sat down with a young woman and looked at her and said, what's going on in your sex life? she'd probably call a cop. But if you throw a tarot card down there, then it's not me asking the question. It is whatever entity you choose to believe caused the tarot card to turn over. I would say it's a person's wrist, but that's another issue. And they now it's not that dirty old man asking this question. It is a tarot card inviting you to talk about that issue. And so you do. It works out real well.
So that really represents any kind of spiritual tool that taps into what it is that is going on with a person.
Yes, and I believe all the spiritual tools are fundamentally the same. They just use a different mechanism to get to the point that allows the patient, if you will, to talk about the issue at hand.
Okay.
Because I've seen people, one person uses cubes that have different things on them. Another person uses cards. Another person uses rose petals. It's all the same. You might as well take a wheel and spin it and have it see where it stops and say, here's what we're talking about. And you could easily say, Spirit has stopped it here for a reason. Why has the Spirit stopped this wheel at this point?
Yeah, it's black number 2. It's 6-1.
That's right.
Or is it 12-1? I don't know. We'll ask Spirit.
2-1. Oh, okay.
So essentially, it's kind of like the all-purpose. If you're expressing what's going on with you, and talking about it, that you can get better.
That's what counselors have been saying for centuries. That's what psychologists would say for centuries. I think that's the way it works. And humans are clearly social creatures, and we like to talk and share, and that generally makes us feel better. So this is just another way to encourage a person to do that.
So out of curiosity a little bit,
yeah.
Do you see, I see Tom the Skeptic, right? Did you hear it?
I just don't believe, that's all.
Are there any tools that you have recognized that you've seen work better than others?
I would say no. And the reason I would say no to the tool aspect is I think it's a person on the other side that really does it. They're able to be more compassionate. The person feels more comfortable with them for whatever reason, who knows. And that, I think, is what is the ticket. The person on the other side, you can sit there and just say, hi, how are you doing? Remain calm. What would you like to talk about? Or the tarot cards or the dice or whatever tool they use to encourage them to talk, and then be smart enough to sit back and listen and maybe make a few key comments. That is one of the things I think that helps with Vialet, is she has 2 master's degrees in HR, and she's worked in the HR business all the way up to a vice president for 10, 15 years. So she knows how to interact with people, how to counsel people, because she's been trained in it. Now, she doesn't have a counseling degree. She has an HR degree, but a significant part of that is how to help people get along in the workplace. And she sits down and she knows how to ask the right question to help the person look at it from a different way and go away feeling like they have a potential solution to the problem. Everyone feels so much better when they have a problem. You say, well, here's a solution that's doable that might help you with this. They go, oh, that's true. Yeah. Now this isn't so bad. I think I understand how to fix it.
So the delivery of hope, in a way,
certainly helps. Another interesting thing, I knew a PhD in psychology that would tell some of the case histories he had. One of them was a family that was having trouble. The children needed medicine, and the car broke down, and everything went to heck. And he realized there was one key thing. If he fixed that, it would help everything else. And that one thing was getting their car fixed. So he got the state of Alaska to pay to fix their car. So now they could go get groceries. They could go to work. They could get their medicine. And now all other problems seemed like you could overcome them. But there was one key thing that was holding him back. Once you get that fixed, you're good to go. It's sort of the same here. People come and talk, and if they can, the counselor, I'll call them, can figure that what the key thing is, or give them some approaches to help with the issues, they'll walk away feeling better. The stress is mostly gone because now I have a solution, I have an end goal, I have a way to solve my problem, and they go out and they try it.
And I can verify and validate that approach, because that is what I do, is I help people figure out, okay, what's the problem, what's the issue, and where did it start? Going back to the root cause. And once you have, like you said, solved the root cause, that spills over into other areas of your life. So you may come in with a relationship issue or an abundance issue, but once you've resolved that issue, it affects the other areas as well. So you fix a relationship and suddenly your relationships are better, but you're better at work, you're better at play, you know, you're better in your spiritual development. Everything gets, everything kind of gets a spoonful of sugar, right? All at the same time. So
it works out well and everything's better.
Yep. And I appreciate the practicality of what you're saying. And I think it's really beneficial for people to recognize that it's super easy to just recognize everybody's different, right? And you don't have to believe the same thing, but believing that it's okay for somebody else to is really, is kind of what the key is there. Well, and it's okay for everybody to be different.
I do not have the right to tell you how to think or believe, just as you do not have the right to tell me how to think or believe. That's kind of nice. We live in America, and you can think any way you want to, as long as you're not trying to hurt somebody. But I do enjoy hearing your approach to problems, because it might be better than my approach. That's kind of nice.
So how often have you taken a spiritual solution to something and applied it?
Well, I would say it depends on the problem. If it's a technical issue, of course, I go the scientific method. I have not laid my hands on my computer trying to make it to work. I take it apart and find the broken component and throw it away and put a new one in. So the spiritual approach works rather poorly on fixing cars, fixing houses, fixing computers.
Well, Reiki doesn't fix your car?
Not a lick.
What if you believe?
Vialet hasn't fixed the car either. But the mechanic down the street does a marvelous job.
Right.
But then there's other cases when I'm having issues with a person, interaction with a person, Vialet will give me some approaches which are clearly not scientific in my mind. A psychologist or psychiatrist would say clearly it is a scientific method, but Vialet might view it as spiritual. You might view it as spiritual. The psychologist would say, you can call it spiritual, but we believe it works this way. And I would say it's all crapola, but it works. So I follow Violet's advice when I'm interacting with people on issues there.
That's probably a good call.
It's a very good call. Very good call.
Well, Tom, I want to say thanks for your unique perspective on the spiritual world and how you're navigating it, and what it takes for you to just, you know, kind of enjoy the craziness, but stick by your guns. And that's something about you that I really appreciate and have always respected.
Well, thank you. People don't ostracize me here. Of course, it could be because I'm double their size, but that's another story.
Well, you are married to the owner.
Yeah, that helps too.
I'm going to give that, like, that's probably got a percentage point in it.
But I also am able to help them with other types of problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
fair enough. So their car's not, well, one person had a car that was making a bad sound. And I told that person to replace their serpentine belt because it's going to break and you'll be walking. And she thought about that and got it replaced. It was ready to go. And she was very grateful. She didn't try Reiki on her vehicle. She went to a mechanic. Worked out well.
Right. So there's something to be said for either side of the coin, right?
A lot of problems in the world. Different solutions are pretty darn handy.
Yep. And like you said from the beginning, it's actually really beneficial to have a balance of the scientific and of the spiritual, because you just never know where the solution is going to come from.
That's exactly right. I told Violet right off the bat, that's why our relationship is going to be so good, because we approach it from two different perspectives, which means we have much greater chance of solving all the problems we encounter.
And I live with a scientist,
Yep.
so I do understand how that works, and it's your view and your progression with Vialet on her spiritual path, and the time that I've known you has helped us at home as well. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Think about how nice it would be if someone came to you and said, Jason, I'm going to take care of half of all the problems you have.
It's a good point.
Oh, that's kind of handy. That's what I've done for Violet. I said, you don't put gas in your car? I do that. There's a problem with the car? My problem. I take care of it. All those kinds of things that you have to do to get through life, which could be kind of a pain in the neck. I'm taking care of a bunch of them, so she can concentrate on other things. Half your problems are gone.
The practical guy does the practical stuff.
Works out well for me.
Real world problems.
Mm-hmm.
By reality world, I don't mean first or second world. Okay. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Spiritual Handyman. Tom, thanks for being on the show and putting up with the questions and sharing all your philosophies. I say we go have some barbecue.
Good deal.
All right. We'll see you next show, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, click all the cool buttons, do the cool stuff. And we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.
The Spiritual Handyman, bringing spiritual tools to the hands of the people who need them. Sponsored by the Eagle Heart Foundation. The Eagle Heart Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that brings charitable contributions and educational enhancements to the people. So how can you be a part of the Spiritual Handyman and the Eagle Heart Foundation? The Triple Win Situation. This book was written by Granddaughter Crow, and half of the proceeds go to the Eagle Heart Foundation, which in turn sponsors the Spiritual Handyman. How to get it one? It's on Amazon and Kindle for only $9.99. So we are here to bring tools to you. Thank you so much, Spiritual Handyman. We believe in what you do.